Hey, this is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel. Now, who's ready for some fighting words? In this video, I want to talk about Errol Spence. I also want to talk about Keith one-time Thurman and their upcoming bout. And their weird question is, what way they're fighting at? Well, apparently, supposedly, quite possibly, it's looking like it's going to be 154 pounds. So this video is comprised of two questions, long-winded questions. Heads up. The first question is, who do you favor at 154 pounds? Now there's a difference. The second question is, what happens next if it's at 154 pounds? So really quick, if you like the videos, please take this time right now to subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. Just click that button, takes you literally 2 seconds. Also, while you're doing that, if you could also click that thumbs up button, that also helps and supports the channel. Thank you. Now let's get back to this. Thurman Spence at 154. Who does that favor? Clearly 100% Errol Spence. It favors Errol Spence. Errol Spence is just naturally the bigger guy. It favors Errol Spence. Errol Spence spars and trains with big guys all the time. I mean, he literally is a sparring partner for Jermell Charlo. They spar all the time. So both Charlos, he spars both of them. So, but on top of that, he's just a bigger guy. And I think size in the fight matters because the way both guys fight, a bigger Errol Spence is going to support Errol Spence's aggressive fight style. Him pushing forward, him muscling his opponent down, him throwing a lot of punches. I don't think that will affect his punch output, quite frankly. I don't. And I feel like everybody out there with Derrick James can throw like 1,000 punches around. But I don't feel like that'll affect him and his punch output. But he's going to be a much stronger physical Errol Spence. And Errol Spence can already put the pressure on anybody. Errol Spence can probably outpunch anybody, especially at that, at 147. And he could probably do so at 154, maybe. I just think that the size is going to play a huge difference and role in the fight. And I'm curious to know how this came about. Like, why at 154? I know Keith Thurman has to know this does not benefit him. Keith Thurman has a style that's geared around speed and movement. And if you're fighting at a bigger weight, well, you're not going to be moving around for the whole time. I don't foresee this fight going to a knockout, really, unless it's like a TKO. So what are you gonna run? Are you gonna run around the ring for 12 rounds? That's gonna be interesting. And I'm curious to know how, not only how this weight was proposed, but also what's the intention behind the proposing. I mean, maybe they muscled Keith Thurman down and was like, listen, you want to fight, right? Well, then you take it at 154 pounds or you get in the back of the line. Choose. We got Jaron Ennis over here. We got a lot of guys. We don't necessarily need you right now either. What do you want to do? If you're going to fight him, it's going to be at 54. I wonder if Keith Thurman was muscled into this. I don't see possibly how he could want a fight with Errol Spence at 154. Keith Thurman is quite the analyst himself, and he has quite the boxing mind himself. And I know he's played this fight out several times. And if he's played this fight out at 154 pounds, I do not see how he said that was okay, or it was okay with him to sign a contract that says fighting at 154. He has much more of I'm not going to say an advantage, but a higher percentage of winning at 147 than he does at 154. I think he would be able to crack a lot more at 154, but the other large proponent of Keith Thurman's game is movement and speed. Now you I'm not saying you stopped the speed, but you definitely nullified it. I'm not saying you stopped his movement, but you definitely nullified it. So I'm curious to know if this, number one, is a back office type of thing. And if so, I can see how this is okay with Errol. I can see how Errol was probably aware of this. I do not see how this is okay with Keith Thurman. I can't see how you can be in Keith Thurman's team and you're okay with him signing that contract at 154 pounds. So I don't know. Maybe I need to just do a side video on that because I don't know. That doesn't sound correct to me. everything is geared toward Errol Spence at that weight, 154 pounds. Now, the other question is, what happens with the winner? Like, what does, because listen, a win at 154 between these two guys, number one, the belt's not on the line. And number two, it doesn't mean jack to anybody because you guys are fight at 147. Unless whoever the winner is planning on staying at 154 pounds. Now, that poses another question. If I'm Jermell Charlo and Errol Spence is my friend and we train in the same gym, I suppose I'd have to give him a call and say, hey, bro, real quick, what happens if you win? What happens if you win? Like, are you going to try to see me? What happens if you win? You're not going to handle your business with Terrence Bud Crawford? You're not going to try to handle your business with Jaron Ennis? What happens if you win? What happens if you win? What does that mean? You're gonna come for me? And not only are you going to come for me, but when were you going to tell me that this fight was 154 pounds? These are just questions. These are just questions. If I'm Jermell Charlo, I'm asking my stablemate some questions. I know this is not a construct of Keith Thurman. Why are you fighting at 154 pounds? Or why is the word on the street that you fighting at 154 pounds? And what are your plans if you win at 154 pounds? You plan on vacating your titles? You plan on staying here? What are your plans? Bro, that's what I'm asking. What are your plans? Do I need to watch you? If I'm Jermell Charlo, I'm asking these questions. Do I need to watch you? Do I need to do I need to go to your fight as a fan and lover of the sport of boxing, or do I need to go to your fight as a potential opponent and I need to check you out and watch you move for a different purpose? What are your plans after this fight? Because it doesn't make sense. Why are you going? It didn't make sense for you to go up, but it's really not going to make any sense if you win and you go, either one of you, if you win and you go back down. What was this for? If you guys are planning on doing this thing in April, it really doesn't make sense because it's not as if you can't make the weight. You got to fight in April. Like, are you kidding me? So that doesn't make any sense. So I suppose the smart question, the most important question actually with this fight is, what happens afterwards? Because even if Keith Thurman loses, does that really tarnish anything? No, he's a 147 pounder. It doesn't tarnish anything because that just simply means, well, this is not my house anyway. I don't live here anyway. I don't live at 154 pounds. I live at 147 lane. Like this, so you gotta ask yourself a question. What does this fight mean? What's the significance of this fight? And now that I'm playing this in my head, could it just simply mean that maybe Al and all the guys upstairs don't have 100% confidence in Errol Spence beating Keith one-time Thurman? Let us give him another advantage. Could that be it? We don't have 100% confidence in you beating him, so we give you another advantage, and then you come on back down to 147 as if nothing ever happened. Because what's going to happen if Jaron Ennis, and he's technically up for a title shot with one of the belts held by Errol Spence. Okay, so what happens with Jaron Ennis? Are we going to do the same thing? Are we going to go to 140, 154? We going to go to 160? What are we going to do? This literally makes zero sense, and I'm curious to know, number one, whose idea is it? And number two, what happens as a result of? Meaning after there's a winner between Spence and Thurman. That's what I want to know. I think it's fair questions, and they are just questions at this point in time because it just doesn't make any sense. Does the loser go back down? Does the loser stay put? Does the winner go back down? Does the winner stay put? Why were they placed at this weight? Does Jermell Charlo need to call his buddy up And I suppose when Ennis does get in the picture and he's getting closer and closer and closer, what fight would that be at? Drop your thoughts down below. You know me, I want to hear what you have to say. Please like, please share, please subscribe to the channel.